It's true that you have forces, but what is quite clear is that the civil society is scattered. No real ideology, the old ideology of, the Nasserism and leftist, it's not there. It's really scattered. And this is why the people are scared of saying the only movement which is a bit organized is the Islamist and the Muslim Brotherhood. Once again, the historical...
Is it always necessary to have an ideology?
Sorry?
Is it always necessary to have an ideology?
No, it's not necessary. It's always necessary to be organized. And the problem is, if you don't have an ideology and you are disorganized, you have nothing. You only know what you don't want. But now, democracy is about a very powerful civil society. It's where the ideas and the ideology are debated. And this is not happening.
How are they going to work out the ideology? Sorry to interrupt. How do you figure out?
No, but this is exactly where we are now. This is exactly where we are now. I think that there is nothing like this now, and they are not sitting together to be able to come to this, and they are negotiating on structural things, not really on political views. But once again, you can't get this before starting the process, because you build something which is coming out of democracy in a democratic process. Before, it's very difficult. So it's a vicious circle, and they are breaking this vicious circle now to get something else. Now, in the Muslim Brotherhood, because I got this on this question, if you look at what is happening, we have three main problems in the Muslim Brotherhood today. The first is a generation gap. That you have a very old leadership and young Muslim brothers coming now and asking for a new way of dealing with politics. And it started, in fact, almost 10 years ago, when some young people were saying, we can't work like this, we need a party. And they wanted to create a party called El-Wasat, and the party of the middle. And they were dismissed by the old generation, and they left the Muslim Brotherhood. This was the starting point of the discussion from within the Muslim Brotherhood, with the young generation. And now you have a young generation saying we have to follow in the footsteps of Erdogan. This is the right way to translate Islamism for today. We don't have a problem with democracy. We don't have a problem even with a secular state, as long as the secular state is not acting against our principles. You have young generation. Some others are not at all agreeing with this. They are very close to the more literalist view, or the more old generation of the Islamic State perceived as it was perceived and described in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. So you have tensions here, a generation gap, which is important. The understanding of Islam and the reference, the framework, is a problem. This is a very important discussion. So Islamists are not agreeing on that. While, for example, the new definition of what is an Islamic society and not being at odds with the democratic principles, this is there. That, for example, in the 80s they started to speak about women being involved in politics, which was not the case before. So these are things, they are evolving, and this is the third thing that we need to understand. So Islamists have been evolving over the last 30 years a great deal. So it's true, when you sit with people in Turkey, people who are following Erdogan and people who were following Erbakan, they don't agree on many things. It's not only a strategy. These are ideological and Islamic differences. They are not agreeing. It's not only political strategy. They don't agree on the priorities. They don't agree in the interpretations. And I think that we need to understand that. So what could happen today is that I don't think that the Islamists have a majority in the countries, but they could be powerful. Now, the way they are dealing with the environment, of course they are using strategy. When they decided, okay, we are not leading, so let us put ourselves behind El-Baradei. It's a strategy, of course. They know that if you come at the forefront, they are going to be, it's going to be a problem. They are going to be targeted, and the whole process could be undermined. Exactly the same in Tunisia. In Tunisia, Rashid Ghannouchi from London, he said, I don't want to be involved. I'm not going to run for presidency. I'm going back home. I want to die there. But still you have political forces, and now the surveys are showing that if they are going to run for the elections, they can get up to 23%. which is huge as a starting point if you compare to all the other parties. The problem is that there is now an inflation of political parties, that many people, you know, we are 3, we are 4, we are creating a political party, is problematic. So this is one dimension here which is to be considered. And as you were asking the question about economy, I think, no, the economic factor is the weak factor in the vision of the Islamists, that's for sure. And maybe by the way, the exception was Turkey. Because it started with economy. Erbakan was an economist. He had a vision about the J8. He was dealing with he had a vision, and I think that the people who are running Turkey now are quite clever on that field. Much more than what we had in the Arab world and in the Middle East. I think that this is the weak factor, or even the missing factor for some. So, once again, I'm optimistic, but as I said, I'm not naive, and I think that we have to be cautious. But my position on this should be clear. I'm just coming back from, as I told you, from Morocco, and I was asked this question. What about the Islamists and what about the future? And my position is clear. Anyone, any party, which is respecting the rule of law, the democratic processes, because this is important, not only before the elections, but also after the election. Remember the feast, the Islamic Front of Salvation, they came and they were saying, okay, let us use democracy before, and when we take over, we'll change the thing, because this is not really Islamic. So this is not. Before and after. And then to be involved in the discussion and to accept the democratic processes, any group which is accepting this principle should be involved in the political democratic debates and processes. And this is my position. I think that the Muslim Brotherhood, they were non-violent, they are still non-violent. The people who are violent or were violent, they left the Muslim Brotherhood, but them or any kind of Islamist group or Islamist trend should be allowed to take, to be involved in the discussion, to take part in the election. This is my position, and this is, I think, the only democratic position that you can have. This is democracy, that let them, and what I think is that if you start repressing them, putting them in jail or torture, this is the way you are creating radicalization. We are creating what I think is wrong. So this is the second point. And then about the Muslim Brotherhood, you know, it's known and repeated that I'm the grandson of Hassan al-Banna and some people, and I wrote books about this. I wrote books about this history. I'm not a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. I'm analyzing. I'm critical on some of the views, and from the very beginning, I think that what the Muslim Brotherhood were in the 30s and the 40s is something that sometimes in some political positions today and some vision of what an Islamic State is problematic for me. So I'm asking questions, but I won't never accept all this business of demonizing a group of Islamists. Because at the end of the day, we are portraying them as saying they are all the same. I think that this is unacceptable. It's politically wrong, is even for our future is wrong, because the Islamic factor is going to play a role in the Muslim majority countries. So let the people who are non-violent and Democrats being involved in the situation.